Why we're surrounded by...
Hey, I'm Damien Baxter on the Creators Unlocked podcast with LiveLink. Today, I'm joined by someone who's on a mission to break down the misconceptions about HR, describing HR as brilliant and not beige. My guest now works on her own personal brand as a content creator, public speaker, and strategy coach. Michelle Hartley, thanks so much for joining us today on the Creators Unlocked podcast with LiveLink. I also just realised that I used your full name, which was a bit weird.
I feel like a grown-up now.
Yeah, like your parents are telling you off from the bottom of the stairs and you're in trouble. Anyway, how are things, Michelle?
Good, thank you. Good. It's been really busy, which is a really nice problem to have. So yeah, it's been really good.
Busy at work or busy at life?
Both.
Yeah.
It's never not busy, really.
Yeah. And you've come from, you did just tell me, southwest?
Yeah, southwest.
Bristol.
So Swindon, Chippenham, Bristol, Bath kind of way.
Yeah. About an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Nice views from the train?
Yeah. I've done you might have seen this. I do a video series called In the Bin on a Friday, and I normally bin stuff that I hate. And so I've done a train in the bin, but I feel like a lot of train people were going in the bin today because it was just noisy, people are rude, on phone calls, feet on seats, bags on seats.
Oh, so this is like the Michelle's bin?
Yeah.
So by the end of this, I may end up...
You may end up in the bin if you're really, really lucky.
Lucky or unlucky? Yeah. I might revisit that question in about 30 minutes time, 20 minutes time. Well, on that note, I'm just going to jump straight in if that's okay with you.
Go for it.
Times are pretty hard at the moment, especially in the UK. People can't even afford to heat their own homes. Cost of living's crazy. Taxes are on the rise. Energy bills are on the rise. Not good. As a result, we're seeing more and more people looking for new ways to make money. What better way, certainly after a global pandemic and COVID, than to do that online? So one thing that a lot of people are coming to the realization about is that they have got something valuable to teach at the moment. And they're thinking, hey, how can I monetize from that? So quick question for you. I say quick question. I want to go in depth. When did you come to that realization that you had something to teach online and you can ultimately monetize from it? Did you see the fact that you had something to teach as an opportunity to make money? Was that what drew you to?
I mean, I'd love to say yes, but it definitely wasn't. I started off working with another consultant on business partner programs and training up HR business partners. Mm-hmm. And we started to do it for free just because we thought it'd be a great pipeline. It's a good way to meet HR people and, get connected to people we wouldn't have met before. And it was only probably about 400 people in that we were like, hang on a minute, why aren't we charging money for this? And then that's where it all started. So yeah, originally didn't go into it for the money at all, just went into it for the love.
For the love of HR?
For the love of HR.
Okay, so there was... When did you have that moment where you thought, hang on a minute, I can make some cash here?
I think that sounds really cold the way you say that, like, hang on, let me make some cash. But
no,
you are so right.
We're all human.
It was only when we'd started to look at it and realise we had a massive wait list and the admin of it all, because people were constantly contacting us, wanting to get a place, wanting to know more, want to meet for a coffee, that we suddenly went, hang on, this doesn't make financial sense. We should do a token charge at least. And then it all kind of snowballed from there, really. So...
And is this when you were working full-time in HR that you had that realisation, or did you make that transition from full-time to freelance and then start making money?
Yeah, so I was already in the freelance space when this happened. So I was basically doing HR consultancy, so being an outsourced HR director for lots of different businesses on lots of like normal HR stuff. So redundancies, disciplinaries, grievances, policies, all that kind of stuff. And then thought, hang on, we can do something really cool here because I can be the HR person I wanted when I was starting out and go and help other HR people. Okay. And then that's kind of where it started, really. So I was initially kind of already freelancing, doing the consultancy side or the operational HR side. And then as time went on, I thought, hang on, I can do more with this. So yeah, it was weird. So I was already in that freelance space. But as an employed person, when I was an HRD, I absolutely loved developing my team, and that was my kind of passion. So I think it's kind of always been a bit of a golden thread through everything that I do. But
so when did you physically make that transition from full-time to freelance? When did you have that realization that you had something to teach? Was there a light bulb moment?
It'll be... I think it's 2 years. 2 years this January.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Did not think I'd be here, so that's very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know when the light bulb kicked in, I don't know if it was just when I started to do the freelancey bits, I just thought, there's more to this. There's got to be more than me just doing policies and grievances and operational stuff. And then it just kind of happened. It just kind of came to being. It's really weird. And I've got a little group now as well, which you've probably seen, but a networking group called the HR Geeks. And that's the same. It just kind of came from, I really miss having a team. I really miss hanging out with HR people. I really miss like sharing the learning and stuff. And then that's kind of blossomed into something as well. So
was there ever an element of, I'm making loads of money for somebody else here, why am I doing this? I could do this myself and keep all the cash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to say my thought process was that intelligent, but it was definitely like, so now I feel like I'm broken and I could never go back to employed life, which is something weird.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there was a point when I was doing freelancing and I hit my corporate salary, which was month 2 of going freelancing. And I was like, oh my God, I can do this corporate salary lark and I'm working for myself. And ever since then, it's just kind of been this constant like, smashed my corporate salary this month. That's pretty cool.
Bit of a no-brainer really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It is interesting. A lot of content creators that we have, certainly on Creators Unlocked podcast, it's very interesting to talk to them because they are in exactly the same mindset. It's, hang on a minute, I've got something very valuable to teach.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that last month, but now I'm coming to that realisation. I'm onto something here.
Yeah, exactly. And when I think about all the things I used to deliver in-house as an employed person, all the learning and development programs, all of the, even like employee relations stuff, you think if you add a value to that, all of a sudden, that's a lot of money. And you forget when you're in-house that these things cost money in the real world. So you can go out and sell them for yourself.
People are massively undervaluing themselves, certainly in today's climate, So, the amount of people that I speak to, and I say, you should just go for that job. Well, I don't think I'm good enough.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You are good enough.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. Well, on that topic, LiveLink believes that genuinely everyone has something to teach and everybody has something they want to learn. So question to you is, you are teaching people about how to level up their HR skills. Okay. So what sort of clients are you getting and where are they coming from? Are they coming from LinkedIn? Are they coming through word of mouth? People you already knew?
Yeah, so all of those things really. So my first client when I went freelance was one of my ex-managers from Employed Life.
Perfect.
So that was really cool. And whenever I talk to people about going self-employed or going freelancing, I always say kind of go and talk to people that you've worked with before because they're bound, well, they know you, they're bound to want to buy something and you're bound to be able to give them something. So that's always my first tip to people that are going freelance. And then, mostly from my networks and my collection of other kind of HR or freelance or consultant people that know me. And then through kind of my network of people in my groups, my HR contacts and LinkedIn. So primarily all of my business comes through LinkedIn, be that my own networking or courses or whatever that I run. Directly
and indirectly. So all the money that you make is as a direct or indirect result of the content that you put out on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's weird. It is really weird.
When did you come to the realization that LinkedIn was a place to do that?
I think the pandemic changed LinkedIn. I don't know if you think that, but it became a lot more like human, I think.
It did, yeah. It was very much targeted at, it was sort of like the online CV, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was, everyone had to be very professional. You had to be careful what you said on LinkedIn. Whereas now it has become quite a open and modern place to put out content.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So I think the pandemic changed it a lot for me. And I went freelance during the pandemic. So it's quite interesting to then look at how all of that happened.
Why did you go freelance in the pandemic? Was it just a coincidence or did you suddenly think, I've got to move with the times here? Everything's going online.
Yeah. Again, I'd love to say that was my thought process, but it kind of wasn't.
Yeah.
I handed in my notice before the pandemic hit, but then a month later the pandemic hit. And I did have that whole moment of like, I'm a bit of a cold sweat, this is a bit scary. But actually it worked really well for the remote delivery of the programs and stuff that we were doing because obviously everybody was at home, everybody was online, everybody had Zoom, so it kind of just became the perfect storm really. So it worked out really well. But yeah, starting in the pandemic was hilarious, and I think that's where LinkedIn became a different space, and then absolutely became a different space for me because it was somewhere where I could share my wares, I could talk about stuff I loved. It was okay for me to be nerdy about HR things because actually there were a load of other people that were nerdy about HR things. So yeah, it just seemed to work out perfectly really.
I think a big thing with LinkedIn as well is it's so targeted that you can really find a niche for everything, and that's the great thing about it. Whereas if you're posting on things like Instagram or TikTok, that the audience is just so broad.
Yeah.
that it's quite difficult to do that.
Yeah, one of my other HR freelance friends who's amazing, I call her my work wife, she had somebody contact her the other day because she put a hashtag on one of her HR posts about drum and bass music, and this random person contacted her about HR
Really?
because she tagged up some drum and bass music. So yeah, it happens.
Drum and bass HR? Or like, I don't know what that would look like.
It would be cool. I'm telling you now, it would be cool.
There's a new niche right there.
Yeah.
You could
That's it.
get some content on LinkedIn of you doing
You
drum and
heard it
bass
here
HR.
first.
Yeah,
This is the exclusive.
Oh, man, we should have prepared for this, Should have put some drum and bass together.
Yeah.
All right then. So, are you HR professional? Are you a content creator? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you can I say this? Are you an influencer?
Ugh.
Where do you put yourself?
It's really interesting, this question, because I don't know, I feel like in my heart, I'll always be an HR person, but like the content creation side of things, I absolutely love. And I was talking to some of my geeks about this yesterday when I was having my full meltdown about being videoed and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were saying, yeah, but you are an influencer. You're going to have to accept that you're an influencer. And they were like, why don't you use a different word like role model? And I thought, I feel all right about a role model. Influencer sounds a bit too lofty, but yeah.
I feel like role model's something you would be to your kids.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Definitely not somebody to put with children, FYI.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But they're right, you are an influencer. It depends on, okay, when we think of influencer, we think of somebody that holds their phone to their face and they're, taking pictures. And
Yes.
It's not the case. Influencers are, in my eyes anyway, somebody that influences people on a daily, weekly, monthly basis with content that they find beneficial in one way, shape or form. And I think you're doing that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. In that definition, I would accept the influencer badge. But I feel like if you go on Instagram and you look at influencers in the wild, that's not, that's definitely not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, your definition is good. I can accept that.
Yeah. Okay,
Thanks.
cool. I'll redefine it to the world.
Yeah.
I'll
Make me a
my
badge.
new mission, yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you a really random question now then.
Okay.
So what's a common myth that people often associate with HR?
That's a good one. There are so many. So the first I would say is HR is boring. No way. That's not a thing. All of the HR people that I know are absolutely hilarious and the most inappropriate people that I know.
Why would people think HR is boring?
Because our job essentially is to be, and I hate this phrase, but it's true, is to be the organisational conscience. So you have to be the one that's sensible and the one that thinks about what's happening in the organisation and think about other people's consequences. But the reality is the most howlingly funny things I've ever heard, seen or done has been in an HR office with an HR team.
Do you know what it was? I was a teacher once upon a time.
Brilliant.
An official teacher, not like a modern
proper
day teacher. Like a
teacher.
proper teacher. Mr. Baxter, they used to call me. Or Sir.
Funny that.
Sir. It was Sir, actually. But if you ever got called up to HR, it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah, exactly that.
It wasn't a, well done, you've done great this week. It was a, right, let's sit down and have a serious conversation.
Yes.
And that's where my misconception perhaps comes from.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the other one, I think, is that HR are the organisation's police. And that gets me so bad. It gets me really frustrated.
Yeah.
Because actually, and one of my phrases is HR can change the world if you let it. And that's the challenge, is there are so many frustrated HR people who are doing fantastic jobs in organisations, but the organisation is kind of squashing them down for whatever reason. But HR can genuinely change the world.
I feel like HR is almost used as a scapegoat within a lot of organisations.
100%. Yeah.
Really?
Willingly and unwillingly. Yeah. Both ways. Yeah.
As in, we don't really want to deal with this. It's quite a
I'll fling it over to HR. Yeah.
It is that, is it?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and that's one of the biggest frustrations. I think I binned it last week actually about managers with slopey shoulders, where everything just falls to HR like magic because you can communicate to people or go and talk to her because you're HR and you're a woman, so she. Those things happen constantly.
So how would you, kind of going off the topic a bit here, but I'm intrigued. How would you deal with those kind of confrontational situations where you have to give bad news, which you regularly would need to do in HR?
Yeah, and you do all the time. And I was talking to my husband about this because he's been run his own business, CEO kind of level, and he always says I still get scared at dealing with people and confrontation and disciplinaries and stuff. Whereas it just literally is like water off a duck's back to me. But I think it's just that constant like experience of doing it. It's a regular thing. You definitely don't get skill fade in having those difficult conversations when you're in HR. So I don't even remember my first one to say, it was at this point I realised I could have difficult conversations. I think it's just a constant thing.
It's interesting. There's clearly a lot of entrepreneurial skills there that are very transferable to what you're doing now, regardless of whether that's HR or whether that's in a different field.
Yeah.
I can certainly see why somebody in HR would be quite successful in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like when I was in HR employed life, I was massively involved in the business. So I'd get really close with the CEOs that I worked with and the senior leadership team. I'd understand how the business actually operated. I'd understand how we sold things. I'd understand how the business worked. And so actually, you're right. There's a lot of entrepreneurial stuff in there that kind of comes out naturally through the HR job if you're doing it right and not pushing bits of paper around, obviously.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, on that topic then, so what was your biggest fear from making a transition from your full-time career to freelance content creator / HR professional?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think if I'd have thought of myself as a content creator when I started, I probably wouldn't have done it.
What did you expect was going to happen then when you went freelance?
I don't know. Do you know what? When I went freelance, I was petrified of selling. That was my biggest fear. And I do not want to sell to people. I don't want to be that guy that cold calls and you have to make up rubbish and have stupid conversations where we dance around and then I say, can you give me some money, please?
Yeah.
And then I realised it was just about talking to people. And actually, if you go into it without that pressure on yourself of, I need to make a sale here, actually, it then all just comes together. Because if they don't kind of want to buy anything now, they will buy something in the future if they have a good experience with you.
So you're humanising your brand.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm writing that down. Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it? Credibility. You can go all day with these words.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So who is the brand? Is it Michelle Hartley?
Yeah.
That is your business. Michelle Hartley is the face of the brand, the personal brand.
Yeah. And you know what? I've only had that realisation probably in the last 6 to 8 weeks where my coach, who's the most wonderful human ever, she said to me that you're the brand. You're the reason why people come to your programs. You're the reason why people come to your LinkedIn. Then she said you need to manage your organisation around you because you're the magic ingredient. And when she said that, I had that big lift drop moment where I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, she's right. She's right.
People buy into people.
Yes, completely.
Completely. I'm a genuine believer in that. And I know that from my own personal experiences. I don't join social clubs because what they're doing is great. I join social clubs because of the people that are in it.
Exactly. Yeah, completely right.
And I think it's the same with what you're doing. So, did everything go the way you expected then?
I think it kind of did. I feel like, I want to say I was lucky, but I did work really hard. I always think you make your own luck. So I feel like my first day, I sold £1,600 worth of consultancy. So then I think because I had that first good day.
Sorry, hang on. So you left your full-time job.
Yeah.
And you said, right, cup of tea, dinner time, we'll watch a bit of Netflix. You woke up in the morning and
Cha-ding.
1,600 quid.
Yeah.
Back pocket. And there away you went.
It wasn't quite day 2, but
okay.
I had 6 months of I would call it networking because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I did meeting agencies, applying for jobs, talking to other HR consultants, just sort of understanding what everybody's experience was of being freelance. So that's what really helped me then to decide what I was going to do. So I would say I spent 6 months doing that, just networking, chatting.
On LinkedIn?
Yeah, just meeting people in my network, making new connections, that kind of stuff. And that's then, I suppose my day one of making that proper decision of deciding to go, then that was the day that I sold 1,600 quid's worth of stuff straight away.
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool,
well
isn't
done.
it? Yeah, thanks very much. And my goal, by the way, for the first month was 500 quid. So I literally sat there and went, oh God, no, I need a bigger goal. I'm going to need a bigger boat.
I need to redesign my business plan here. Yeah. So, and was that sustainable?
Yeah, I think what's interesting now, so I guess it's the question that I'm at now is this scalability piece. So actually, if my business is me and I'm the business and I'm the brand and that's what people buy, then there's going to be a capacity problem soon because I can only spread myself so thin. And actually, that's where some of the training bits, and the programs and stuff that I'm launching next year will start to come into their own, I think, because that's the better way of giving, this sounds awful, giving more Michelle time to more people.
No, it's not.
Is through kind of programs, because that's the only way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely don't beat yourself up. You've clearly got an audience that are highly engaged by the content and highly influenced.
Oh, there's that word.
By the content you're putting out there. Yeah. So there's a demand for you. And how do you scale? Michelle, it's a genuine question that you need to consider.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Mel at LiveLink here. We're making it possible for creators and experts to teach anything online. It is the easiest way to monetize your audience. We'll even sort out your video editing and email marketing for you, leaving you to do what you do best, creating. LiveLink.vip. where creators and experts teach.
And I never thought that was going to come into my being at all in terms of going to self-employed life. That was not a question that even featured broadly on anything that I'd planned.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to think about it like that.
So just coming back to LinkedIn then, are you getting... I guess what I'm trying to ask is the business that you're getting through LinkedIn, is it workshops, public speaking, that sort of thing? Or are you getting brand deals now as well?
Yeah, funny.
Are you?
No, so I've had my first, I guess, well, I've had a couple of like influencer experiences where I've been sent free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got sent some very, very cool markers from a company on LinkedIn.
Markers, as in marker pens?
Yeah, because I'm always talking about my training and the markers that I love, which happens to be the brand that this guy sells. So he sent me like a massive box of stuff.
So if I
which
start
was
talking
amazing.
about Ferraris,
Yes, let's do that.
then I get a Ferrari on my
Yes,
back door. Okay.
done. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
And I got some really cool coaching cards. I've had a couple of times actually where I've got some good like tools for me to use. So that's been really cool. So yeah, not like massive brand deals, but stuff's happening, which is quite exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And the brand deals that you're getting then, it's very much freebies at the moment.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So nobody's coming up to you and going, mention our brand in this next video and we'll give you a pot
No,
of
but I'm
cash.
very open to that just in case anyone's listening.
Yeah. Me too. I'll take 20%.
Let's
all
do
right?
it together.
Put it out there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm up for that. You put the comment out. Yeah. All right. So it seems like you're spending most of your time on LinkedIn, understandably, considering how much money you're making on there.
Yeah.
How much money do you make directly or indirectly from LinkedIn?
Yeah, now this is a really good question. So all of my business, I can honestly say all of my business, all of my contacts, all of my interactions are through LinkedIn, because it's either, as you say, directly through people that see my content or indirectly through someone that knows someone that knows someone else. So I've nearly hit 6 figures now through LinkedIn. So I'm at 90 something K for the year.
That's amazing.
Which is, it is amazing, yeah. And I do genuinely feel blown away by that. Genuinely.
Month 11.
Yeah.
Your year being April to April or January
Yeah,
to
April
December?
to April, yes.
Oh, so you've still got a bit to go as well.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That is genuinely fantastic.
It is. It
It's
is
really,
amazing.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
is amazing.
That's literally just through public speaking and training and coaching, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah. Events, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
A good friend of mine, actually, content creator, you may know him well, Harrison Cantel.
Yes.
I know that you are one of his pupils, your students.
Yes.
Why did you have a need for Harrison? Harrison is the video confidence coach.
Yeah.
What did you recognise that your brand needed to introduce Harrison?
Yeah, so I was doing video content and it was doing okay, but I'd had this like nagging feeling that I just wasn't quite nailing it properly and I wasn't getting like the traction from it that I was expecting. So I messaged Harrison. I'd seen him around and about on my LinkedIn, funnily enough.
He's doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
And so I messaged him and just said, I need something, like help. What do I do? And then he coached me through a number of different videos. We had some great ideas generating sessions. I spoke to him this morning, so I was like, I'm petrified, help me.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
that's
so he's
interesting.
been lovely for like pumping me back up and making me feel like I can do it. But yeah, he's been brilliant, just amazing. So some of it was confidence, some of it was tech as well. So I had things like, I don't know how to edit a video, I don't know how to add captions, I want to make it fun and interesting. I see lots of cool videos, how do I make mine like that? You know, so there were lots of those kinds of things.
He's got a heart of gold, hasn't he?
Oh, he's so lovely. He is so lovely.
He, from experience, of course he needs to make money, like all of us. I'm not going to beat around the bush,
Yeah.
but he does genuinely care about the success of his clients.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're onto a good one there.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I had to say that, but I genuinely believe it. I do genuinely believe it.
He knows where you live.
He does. I know where he lives. He's bigger than me, though. so anyway, interestingly though, you're going to love this one. So I work with a Gen Zer, and he says that LinkedIn is dead and TikTok is taking over. From your experience, how do you see the creator economy adapting to changes in social trends?
Your friend is very wise.
He's very wise.
He is. It's interesting, actually. So I talk a lot in my programs about how we need to start embracing TikTok as the way to do organizational learning. So I talk a lot about when we learn at work, we go through some boring LMS system, right? Text and next, click, click, click. You're sharing the answers with your mate who sits on the desk opposite you so that you get the same answers. You're literally, it's like punishment. Your learning at work is like punishment, right? You don't enjoy it. It's awful. And you're just watching some boring PowerPoint slide or some generic video. So what I'm saying to my HR people that I coach and train is we need to be using things like TikTok, because actually the gap between work learning and home learning is getting so vast, we're going to be massively behind if we carry on. So I think that in terms of the creator side of things, we absolutely need to be embracing new tech like TikTok to make sure that we're keeping ahead of the game and working with where our kind of clientele are. And that's the key thing, I think. So for me, at the moment, my clientele are on LinkedIn. There are some on TikTok, but most of them are on LinkedIn. But I think in terms of organizational learning, how we're going to kind of create social spaces, how we're going to move forward, something like TikTok is going to work, because that generation, it's not even generational because I'm the same, the attention span for everybody and that instant gratification thing works perfectly on TikTok, because you can just flick onto the next video, you can search up for hashtags. And I'm sure I read last week that now TikTok is the most used search engine for stuff. It's taken over Google. I think I read that.
You think
Don't
you
fact check me. I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
Definitely going to fact check you. But it wouldn't surprise me though.
Yeah.
We'll make way for the Gen Z, as I always say on this podcast.
Yeah.
But we cannot ignore the fact that TikTok is coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's drawing more and more content creators and stereotypically, as we'd put it, influencers to that platform.
Yeah.
And they're monetizing like never before, in a way that I've never seen before. So definitely not one to be ignored, I don't think.
Yeah.
But having said that, what are you experimenting at the moment with TikTok, or have you just noticed that there's no point?
Yeah, so I'm experimenting with it in the sense that I've got an account. It's called The Binfluencer.
Okay.
But I'm literally using it at the moment as a repository for my Friday bin videos, because I just wanted to have a presence there. But I recognise there needs to be something much more than that, I think, moving forwards for me and my kind of audience, I would say.
You getting any engagement?
Some, I think videos that I've got have had between 600 and 1,000 views, but nothing, like the crazy levels of TikTok that you see in other creators.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to jump back to the HR stuff again, because I'm really intrigued about this whole misconception around HR.
Yeah.
What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oosh.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be within HR, although that would be good. Just your biggest failure ever.
Oh, no. I don't even know, This is the thing, as a recovering perfectionist, I don't deal with failure very well. I think, do you know what? I think my biggest failures have been hiring people that I get kind of hoodwinked by a great personality. So if I was like really reflecting, going deep, that in my team I had quite a high level of turnover, and the reason being was I would get suckered by a great personality, someone who's a brilliant chatter, who would light up an interview, and then when I got them to the job, it wasn't great. So I think that would be one of my biggest failings. What I did end up with by the time I finished my employed job was the best team I have ever worked with ever. But it took me a long line of iterations to get to that space.
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast by Stephen Bartlett the other day. I don't know if it was a podcast or just one of these captions with a picture that he puts on LinkedIn. But what he said was most failures from employers is that they employ people based on their experience. And actually the first thing he looks at now is personality.
Yes.
And whether they're a better cultural fit. And then he looks at experience later.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So in employed life, I turned around the organisation that I worked for because we worked on recruiting behaviours, not skills. We had an organisation full of nerds about machinery. We didn't need another nerd. We needed people that could then work with the nerds, draw out the intelligent stuff, and then go off and sell it. So that's what we did. So yeah, 100% hire for behaviours and then teach the skills. Absolutely 100%. I think the kind of behaviours and personality are slightly different. So I was getting bedazzled by lovely personality over here.
Yeah.
Probably I should have been looking at some of those behaviours in the middle. But yes, I completely agree that it's all about the right behaviours and teaching the skills. But also there's this piece about I don't know if you've read about this, but culture fit versus culture add. So
I haven't.
yeah, so culture fit is about, oh, you'll be great here, you'll fit in here, aren't you just like us? This is great. But culture add is about, oh, you're not like us, but I can see where you're going to add value to our organisation, or I can see where you're going to change up the world. So now the kind of principle is about thinking about culture add, so what this person is bringing into your organisation rather than come and gel with us and become one of us.
I really like that.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And which one do we go for? The best of both worlds? Or do we go culture add now?
Yeah, culture add, I think, is the way forward, because you want something different, right? If we think about employee kind of equality, equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, all of that kind of stuff, you want the culture add so that actually people learn how to work together and become more inclusive. You want to create a belonging space where everybody's welcome. So it's quite interesting thinking about that from those terms as well.
So you want people coming in that almost complement one another, rather than people that have exactly the same skill set, exactly the same personality.
Yeah, just a team of robots doing the same thing.
Yeah. Although we are moving into a world of robots now, so, you know.
Yeah, let's not go there. Oh, my word.
All right, then. So, another question for you. What's the biggest insult you've ever had that you're proud of?
I think that the one that I had was I went for an interview for a job, a very technical organisation, which was very much my fit. I am a geek in all ways.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, love a geek. And all the questions were fine, like smashed it, seemed to get on well with the senior leadership team. And the feedback that I got was, you're too bold.
Too bold?
Yeah. So,
Too bold.
And my response was,
I hope.
yeah, I had her. I definitely had her.
A hairstyle.
So yeah, too bold was the feedback that I got, and so my response was, if you think I'm too bold to interview when I'm reining it in, I'm definitely not the person for this job.
Oh, really?
So I feel like I was quite proud of that, because I feel like actually I am too bold for you, and if you think that now, then I'm definitely too bold.
Did you get offered the job?
No,
you didn't?
No, I was too bold.
Would you have taken it if you did?
Do you know what? I don't know that I would have now. I don't know that I would have. They were very sensible people, and I'm not really a sensible person. Yeah.
No,
they couldn't handle me, that's it.
No. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being too bold.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
In fact, you heard it here first. Be bold and out there.
Be bold.
So, yeah. All right, then. So, on the topic of HR, if I was to say you've won the lottery tomorrow, Euro millions, 10 million quid.
That'll do.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Would you still be on a mission to change the misconceptions around HR?
I think I would, you know.
Yeah.
Because when I went from employed to freelancer, I had this big epiphany moment of like, oh, what, you know, the world is my oyster. What can I do? I could go and do a complete career change. What have I ever had this desire to do? And there was nothing, because HR is my thing. So I feel like if I won the lottery, I'd probably just spend more money on merch. Just make more friends.
Really? Well, like mugs and t-shirts and things.
Oh my God, yeah.
Have you got merch?
Yes.
What?
Oh,
like
I love a merch. I nearly brought some, but I've run out. I'll send you some.
Come on now. That's the only reason I do this podcast.
I know. I'll get you some merch. I'll get you some merch.
I got a book last week off
Did
my
you?
guest last week. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll get it. Get it sent to you.
Yeah.
Nothing right now.
Yeah,
we've got like notebooks, t-shirts, pins, the lot.
Oh, I do need a notebook actually.
See, right, it's on.
Do you know every time I leave notes, I open up a new Google Doc sheet, and actually, what I miss is my notepad.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like a proper pad. I'm a child. I know it's not sustainable. But I like a proper notepad.
It is. And also a whiteboard. I love little like corkboard's probably better actually, where you can start plotting things.
Yes.
You know,
like off of serial killers, when you see serial killers on the telly.
That's what I was going to say. On the, you know, where you've got those like,
they have like red strings.
Who's done it? And you've got strings going everywhere.
Yes.
That's what my room needs to look like.
That's what we need. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we've sorted that out. Okay, cool. So we speak to a lot of new content creators who simply don't know how to monetize for the first time. They've got something really great to teach, but they don't know how to. So maybe it's because they haven't grown their social media following yet, or maybe it's that they haven't grown their community. What advice would you give to them?
I feel like there's two bits that I would give. So one sounds a bit like fluffy. So one is to curate your network.
Curate your network?
Yes.
Okay.
So I realised when I started that I had completely the wrong network on LinkedIn. So my network had been built on a number of different jobs in HR. So I had contacts from financial services, from hospitality, from the meat industry, from private health. Yeah. And actually what I needed was a load of HR people around me. So one of my biggest things when I started was thinking about, hang on a minute, I need to get the right connections here. So I think curating your network is really important. And then I think the second piece is thinking about how you can eat the elephant. So how you can break up whatever it is that's your great product, your great idea, your great concept, and think about what your kind of initial piece is going to be so that you can then build on that. So think about, your small, low ticket something, ebook, download, purchase this for a £5 or whatever your kind of small thing is, so that you can then lead people into your bigger program. You get the chance to demonstrate your excellence, and then people will want to buy.
I was reading something or listening to something the other day, and they were saying first thing you should do is identify 25 different ways that you can make money. There's loads. Google it, have a cup of tea and think about it. Just do whatever you want to do, and then look at every single one of those things and just identify a way in which you could do it through what you're teaching.
Yes.
And then you can start to prioritize them, and you can trial each one and just have a little experiment with each one, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's a brilliant shout. I think that's the other thing I talk to HR people about a lot is don't be scared to experiment. If I'd have been rigid in terms of where I started freelancing and where I am now, I never would have got into this space. I would have just carried on being a boring HR consultant doing stuff for organisations. So I think being prepared to experiment is important.
Were you ever a boring HR person? I fail to believe that.
Well, probably not.
I thought you were on a mission to make HR cool, and I don't think that started when you became freelance. I think that started way before that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's true. I have always been trying to make HR cool for a long time.
Yeah.
Trying
or success. I think you've been succeeding. You've certainly changed my misconceptions.
Thanks. Yeah. That's good. I feel like that's a win.
I'll be absolutely honest, Michelle. I mean, if somebody said to me HR before, I genuinely would have thought, ooh, oh dear.
Yeah.
HR, like I'm in trouble here. What are they going to tell me off about? Which I said previously. So, I'm happy to honestly say that to you now. I don't think that's wrong. But you have genuinely opened my eyes to make me think that actually there's more to this. So
this is good.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And the other thing I will say as well is that I know we talk about money quite a lot on this podcast. I do think for content creators, although they may say we do this for the love, which I'm sure you do, you've got to make money.
Yes.
Certainly the environment we're living in. So any content creators that are maybe listening to this or watching this, they almost definitely will be thinking, how can I make money for the first time, or how can I make more money than I am doing right now? And they're the sort of tips that they want. So what you're saying about taking those first steps is super useful.
Yeah, and doing what you love is really important, because actually there are hard days. So if you're doing it for the love, that's a brilliant first start.
Yeah.
Because it gets really hard. There'll be days when you're like, oh my God, why am I posting this again? Why have I got this video? Why have I spent all this time? Nobody cares. But actually it's really important. And people do see what you put out. So don't get fixated on the numbers, I guess. So don't think that just because you've got something that's only got 20 likes or 20 views, don't think that people won't see it. The amount of people that come to me and say, oh, I saw your post on blah, and I'm like, did you? Oh, that only had 5 likes, so you must have just seen it somewhere. So don't think that they won't see it. They do. It's
interesting because I often think that, if somebody just likes your post straight away, it's usually because they probably don't actually care. Yeah. They just like it and they move on.
Yes.
But actually,
well, they know you and they're like, oh, I want to be helpful.
Yeah. But actually, if somebody doesn't like your post and then comes back to you later, it's probably because they've read your post, gone, actually,
exactly.
That's something I need to start thinking about, and then gone away and thought about it.
Yeah.
So it's good that you say that. Would you say that you've ever spent a significant amount of time creating content to just have no results from it?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Is that okay?
I think I've let go of the obsession with the numbers now. So I feel like whatever I put out into the world, I put it out because I want to talk about it. So actually that's my joy of it, rather than worrying about the numbers. And I think that's the thing that people get really hung up on. And people do see what you put out. So I think, I do genuinely do it for the joy, not the numbers. And I think that is really important.
Yeah, good on you. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, we are coming to an end. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But honestly, I'll say it again. My misconceptions of HR have been changed. So thank you so much. And please do stay in touch with us and keep creating fantastic content online, because you're clearly helping an audience that really benefit from what you're putting out there. Whether that's from a career perspective or a mental health perspective or whatever that might be, you're helping a lot of people that you see and you don't see. So Thank you.
Thank you. It's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.